Huh? There. Oh. Huh? Durr.
Hey now, and welcome down to KC Toy Reviews. We are here today with the Vision from Wandavision, aka one of the best Disney Plus / Marvel shows ever. And well, it's unfortunate to say there are a lot of issues with this figure. And if you're at all curious what those are, well, let's hold each other's hands and dive right the hell goddamn in. Yeah! Alright, so I'm going to keep him exactly where he was. Normally I zoom in a little bit as soon as I start babbling. However, I want to show off this diorama piece that basically looks like my 10-year-old could make it in an arts and crafts class. And, well, not to say that it's a huge piece of crap, but it's basically just a cardboard. This reminds me of stuff from Michael's. I don't know why. It's like a hard cardboard back in here. And just this really flimsy, floppity-floopity front. Now, it might look pretty decent through camera, which it does, but a lot of these little edges here are bent. And I'm not going to zoom in and pick on it too much, but there's a ton of little scratches throughout that go down here. So, I mean, if we're considering this just a free bonus, then sure, I guess I'll take it. However, it was heavily advertised, and given this guy comes with nothing, I think we are going to kind of consider this an accessory. So they included a dynamic stand, which, okay, I hate dynamic stands. It's great for pictures, yabbity yubbida. We'll bash that stand in a little bit, but given where he hovers in the dynamic stand, and then we have this as an inclusion, watch where it sits in the back of him. Oh! Now, I know I'm anal of things like this, but this dead space at the top here is ridiculous. And I'll show you that you really can't mess with where he hovers on the stand. So it's kind of ridiculous that they dictate where the stand holds him. And then we have this diorama background that basically sits at an improper level. I personally would want him on this stand, hovering right at the height of this thing to get some great shots. But where the stand captures him and then the diorama sits, again, you have this blank space above that just makes no sense whatsoever. And then secondly, and this to me is awful. So let's Harry Potter wand this up here. Ready? So, oh, I whacked him. So for starters, this dynamic stand is very unique in where it's locked at this spot. Now, recently I just reviewed Jango Fett. You can take the dynamic piece, which on a lot of these you can, and you can slide it up and down the pole. This one, unfortunately, is locked in place right at this height due to where it sits on there. And then it began because, oh, well, that almost fell. And then again, because of that, he sits here, and then you have this dead space. And then on top of that, look at how far back it pushes the cape. It looks ridiculous. And we're going to get to the cape in a second. I mean, it's almost like we're diving right into the bat on this thing. We're going to get to this cape. But look at how far back it pushes the cape on this thing. I mean, this might be the biggest piece of crap stand Hot Toys has included in a long time. I don't know how they're not figuring out something to make this cape fit flush on the back of him, because this just looks awful. Look at how far back this thing sits. It's almost like he's flying in the wind constantly. And then, of course, while we're on it, let's just hammer the stand a little bit. This dynamic stand, which forces us to hold him at this height, which is putting extreme pressure on the suit, will 100% damage that suit. That's right. I'm going to wave the wand everywhere like I'm going frantic right now. It's going to damage that suit. If you've ever had a dynamic stand, you will know, and especially anybody who has had the Man of Steel Superman, it absolutely damaged his waist, and on mine, it actually pulled the little belt that was around his waist off over time. So this will either A, rip a piece off or leave some type of scuff in the paint around it, or B, just leave a permanent indent around his waist. Even as I'm talking right now, I am sweating balls looking at him being held on that thing. I am very particular about my figures, and it just feels like it's being damaged right as we speak. It should just be like the Django, slide up and down there, and then this gap here should be taken care of with some clever system, given how smart these guys over at Hot Toys. I mean, they've pulled off some incredible feats, so the fact that we are overlooking or just saying we don't care about this gap between the cape here is preposterous. So onward to the cape slash And I started laughing early when I said this. It's basically a napkin. I mean, this thing feels like a napkin. I mean, you can almost hear the napkin quality. I want to wipe my mouth with it as I feel this. Literally feels like a nice little napkin. The material on this cape is so weird that it's like a paperish napkin that I just am baffled again on the quality control. It's almost like I've said about some of the Stan's Hot Toys glues with the capes. Do they just roll a dice and say, hey, we're going to use this material on the Vision? Or is it simply because this was rushed to market? I mean, I'm just curious why they went with this weird material on the cape. Now, again, I'll preface by saying it's not the biggest piece of crap in the world. It looks beautiful. As you see, we have this insanely nice design printed on the back of it, but the feel of it is very, very strange. And the next major issue, and I would say this is even a worse issue, as you see, there's pleats in this, right? So we have kind of layers of the cape, and it's really nice, these pleated layers, okay? The problem with that is we have a wire on the outside of this. If you try to pull and tug on it on any dynamic pose, well, it pulls the pleated layers out of place and really scares me that it will destroy this nicely layered pattern that's going to have here. So nice that we have these layers, but man, it could be dangerous depending on what you do with the outside here. And just to note, the wire only goes from here right to the edge. There is no wire at the bottom, so pretty lazy overall on the cape. I just don't know what the hell happened on this cape. So let's go ahead and shift to the head sculpt, and well, there's some positive and unfortunately a little more bad. And let's immediately get the small / gripe about the bad out of the way, and that's with the articulation of the head. And well, you might be able to look left and right and up pretty decently. However, as far as looking down, what you see is what you get. It's just so strange, so I'll quickly just kind of show you. If I go to try to put him down, that's it. I mean, he will not look down any further than this. Now again, he'll look up and he'll look left and all that, right? But it's like, man, I can't believe if you wanted him in like some Superman pose where he's looking down at an angle or something, because we're forced with the dynamic stand that, again, it's almost like taunting me in the background. It's like, yeah, I'm locked in place here. You're gonna look at me the rest of the video. You're gonna look at me. Okay. Oh! All right, anyways, I was trying to make people laugh and make the stand like it was talking, and the figure fell. This was gonna be the flawless video where a figure didn't fall, and of course, the goddamn figure fell. So anyways, he just took a nosedive, and luckily it didn't scuff or smash his face or anything like that. But anyways, onto the face sculpt that has terrible looking down articulation. Swinging right into the positive, I think it looks spot on to Paul Bettany. And sure, they're working off of the layered actor with Vision and the robotic and the paint and stuff like that, but I can still see it, and I still think it's a good head sculpt, and it is a slight improvement over the original Vision. And I think overall it has a good paint application. We have the Mind Stone on top. It sits nicely. If anybody remembers the version 1 of Vision, it was more, in my opinion, slightly more of a giraffe neck look. This one sits nicer, and I think the proportions and the way it fits with the shoulder is a little bit nicer on this version. And then the slight details like the contrast in the eyes, and if you see these tiny little lines that are on his cheeks to just add a real extra layer of depth to the face. And then just a quick zoom into the suit overall. Well, if you've ever had a Superman or a Spider-Man toy by Hot Toy, it's a very similar feel and texture to this suit. The positives to that are it looks and actually feels fantastic. The downfalls are that you should be careful of how you pose and articulate this guy, especially depending on how long you keep him in those poses, because it usually keeps some creases and can damage over time. Now, swinging back to the look of it, it just looks great. The slight upgrade to the version 1, again, in my opinion, the body is a little bit more defined. Unfortunately, I don't have the version 1. I've sold that off a long time ago. But looking at old pictures, remembering what I had, and then this, it was slightly skinnier, not as defined in this. Again, it just reminded me more of a giraffe neck versus this one. And then some of the muscles and texture you can see a little bit more defined on this as well. And thank God, I don't know if it's just me, but I remember the promo pictures. He looked freaking jacked, like he had an 8-pack or something like that. So it looks like they toned back, maybe it was feedback or something like that. But he still has some definition, slightly bigger body than the older one. And overall, I think it looks fantastic. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time in this area and bore the hell out of people. Just a couple things to note. Something that everybody seems to be obsessed with lately is we do have the split cut down here at the feet, so it adds a little bit of extra articulation. The overall paint application and the way the suit kind of fit into the boots is very nice. It has a nice tight snug fit around them. So overall it has a beautiful look and fit to it. And then as I mentioned, you have this really nice branded Wandavision stand, aka one of the best Marvel shows of all time. But unfortunately paired with the beautiful branded bottom is a piece of crap dictatorship dynamic top. And interestingly enough, one thing I noticed as I was setting up the shot, the cape drags at the bottom. In my opinion, again, big miss by the Hot Toys team. Now, if you could see, it's like literally just a slightly too long. And I as you put him down, it pushes and bunches up a little bit. As you can see, it did it in the corner right near his, well, in our shot here, yeah. This foot, you can see it doing it on that side here. So pretty disappointing that, I don't know if they should have just brought it up literally like a centimeter or something. I don't know, small gripe, people might say who cares, but I just thought that was strange, because if I do keep him in a regular museum pose, this is just going to constantly stay bunched up at the bottom unless I give it some tug on the back and pull it out from the back of the stand. As you can hear, it's still scraping at the bottom there. Just strange. I don't know. I feel like it was a miss by the team over there, but let me know your opinions below. Maybe I'm just crazy. All right, so let's start to wrap this up and slap a score on this guy. But before we do so, some final closing notes. Now, first off, if you are interested in picking this guy up, I have included a link below to toysbyangagent.com. He is ready to ship, 7-day shipping, best prices out there. Codes right on the page, PayPal paying for, everything right at your fingertips to get this guy as early as next week. And of course, if you are down there in the description of the video, please note we have a Facebook group where we encourage everybody to share their content. And please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all that good stuff. But anyways, on to the figure at hand, the Vision from Wandavision. Now, as it spins in front of us, clearly it is a visually stunning piece. The suit fits this one a little bit better, the body's a little bit bigger, more muscle definition overall from the first version of Vision. And I even think the head sculpt and the way it sits on the neck is a slight improvement over the first Vision as well. Unfortunate to say that it is paired with some downfalls. First being the napkin cape. Now, the napkin cape is unfortunate. It is a weird material, and the pleats, and then the pleats on the back, well, again, visually, they look great. The cape looks amazing. Great pattern, great paint scheme to it. Overall, it looks great. The downfall is that it feels like a napkin. It is a strange material, and then the other downfall is the pleated layers on the back can lead to some serious issues. Depending on how you articulate that cape, it could damage those pleats and it could never go back into place. So again, visually it looks good, but it's an odd decision by the team because of what can happen in the long run. And then the only other concern would be, well, as much as the suit is visually striking, and one of the last things we're going to want to note is articulation. Now, Hot Toys has provided a double jointed knee and double jointed elbow body as always. The only caution that I would throw out there is be careful how you do pose it, because it does have that Superman, Spider-Man-ish suit. It does leave room for damage. If you do want to preserve the suit, I would say be careful with your dynamic poses and how you keep this guy, especially with the piece of crap dynamic dictatorship stand that came with this thing. It will absolutely damage his waist, so definitely be careful with that stand and how you pose this guy, because it can easily dent and crease this suit. Pose him quick, take your pictures, and put him back in a museum pose, in my opinion. If you're ballsy and don't care about any of that, then again, pose the crap out of this guy, because he has fantastic articulation. And now I think it's a good segue to say, well, what would I put a score on this guy? Well, I think what comes to mind is an 8.2 out of 10. And the reason we're not higher than an 8.2 out of 10, and I think it's pretty obvious, it's the napkin cape. Like the cape is to Superman, it is very similar to Vision. You can include a visually striking cape with some great pleats on the back. However, if you make it too easy for us to damage it and destroy it, well, then it questions the longevity of it. And on top of that, the material of it, that napkin-like material, was very odd. So being that the cape is a very big representation and part of the Vision, I was a little bit disappointed with the route they took. Now, if you don't care about that and you just care about the way he looks in front of us, well, like I said several times, visually, he's striking, and this is an absolutely beautiful looking piece. And of course, at an 8.2, do I recommend this? Yes, I do recommend this piece. It is a great, great piece from one of the best written shows Marvel has ever produced. And of course, because of that also, it does lead me to believe I don't know if we're going to see this version of Vision ever again. So that might play into your purchasing decision. So if you like the show, if you like Vision, then yes, get this piece. There's a couple small drawbacks in regards to the napkin cape, it dragging on the ground, but those might be things that you might not care about. The suit, the body, the look is there, and everything is pulled straight from that fantastic show. So we're going to go ahead and sign off here today at KC Toys with the Vision from Wandavision. Probably not going to be a season 2. Actually, I know there's not going to be a season 2. See you guys next time. Join the Facebook group. Bye!